Hey, Tim Storm here from Storm Writing School. I just want to talk today about a few quick tips with Word for critiquing other people's manuscripts. If you're a beta reader for someone or if you're a critique partner, you can always, of course, just print them out on paper, but sometimes that's not practical. Sometimes the software, some sort of software, and commenting on that is the best way to go. So I stick with Word for a lot of my editing. I actually like it for editing, but not so much for other purposes. It does have pretty robust and clear editing capabilities. So let's just jump right in here. The first thing I want to go over here is keyboard shortcuts. I'm on a Mac here, by the way, using Word for Macs 2016. There's some differences in the PC version, obviously, and previous iterations of the software also have some differences. But this is really more about the concepts than it is about the technical know-how, the various concepts of how I've made editing more efficient because I do a lot of it. So I'm guessing you're familiar with some of the common keyboard shortcuts. Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, I believe, and you combine that with an X to cut, a C to copy, a V for paste. I use Command Z a lot for undo, and Command F for find, and Command S for save, etc. But here's the thing, you can create shortcuts or just look up shortcuts for the things you do very commonly. So let's say you're editing a manuscript. As you can see, I've turned on track changes here. I always like to look at all markups so I know what I've done in terms of editing and writing. And if I delete something, that will be noted. If I make an addition, that comes in a different color, etc. So that much I'm sure you know already. But let's say I want to create a shortcut for something or look up a shortcut for something I don't already know. And one thing I like to do a lot of is make a comment. So I might highlight the title and I might say something like, nice title. New comment up here is one way to do that. Another way to do that is to go insert and to comment. All of that is fairly tedious. So what I want to show you is a customized keyboard shortcut for doing that exactly, because I never click when I'm writing a new comment. So the best way to find these things is you can go up here to categories, and these just match those the menus up here. But the other thing you can do is just go to all commands and search for something that you'd like. So insert new comment, and you can see I have Command E as my shortcut there. I've already assigned that one. One word of caution if you do that is it's right next to Command W, which is close document. And so if you accidentally do that, luckily this prompt comes up and asks you if you're sure you want to close it. I do mistype Command W for Command E about once every 300 or 400 pages. So something you might be aware of, but you can choose your own shortcuts for these things. And so then I can just write my comment there without clicking on anything. It saves a lot of time actually over the course of several pages. The other shortcut I use is for highlighting. This may or may not be something you want to do. I sometimes highlight for repetition. For instance, if it's something I've already alerted a writer to, I might just highlight subsequent instances. So I've made a shortcut that is just Control H to highlight something. I mention this one not to convince you to highlight, but because it showcases a potential issue you may have in assigning shortcuts. You might have a system-wide shortcut that will override the ones you create. So on a Mac, Command H, not Control H, is what you use to hide an open application. And it just disappears in a very disconcerting way like that, and looks like you've lost it. It has freaked me out more than once. So if you're having trouble with something, just be aware that it might be that there's a system-wide shortcut. Some shortcut is already taken, and it might refuse to give you the one you want. One last shortcut I use frequently is Control N. For me, that brings up this thing over here, which is called the navigation pane. You can find that under View, Sidebar, Navigation. There's the thumbnail, navigation, reviewing, and search is what you have over here in this pane. So this is the thumbnails. It's the page viewer. It allows you to get sort of mini portraits of all of these different pages in the document, which is somewhat handy for navigation quickly. This is the navigation pane for headings. Looks totally useless right now. I'll come back to that later. Over here are the comments. I never really look at this for comments, but sometimes if you have a very long comment or several of them on one page, they get a little too crowded. They spill over into this area over here. And then there's the find and replace section over here. First though, let me show you how this headings thing works because I use it with every novel I edit. You've got a chapter heading like this, and what you want to do is find your styles pane and make this heading 1. If you do that, you'll notice the format changes right away, and maybe you don't want that. You want to keep it as is. So I'm going to Command Z and get out of there, and then I can right click on heading 1 and update heading 1 to match selection. Then it doesn't change the style at all, but you see that it's just now called heading 1. So it really does nothing to the physical appearance of the document, but did you see this over here? It shows up in that area. I'm just going to search for chapter. If I go to chapter 2, I can do the same thing now and make that heading 1. If I go to chapter 3, same issue. So now those are populating this navigation pane over here. So I've jumped ahead in time, and now I have a few more of these headings over here in the navigation pane. And I want to show you one more thing if you're doing this. See how I've highlighted, and it's actually highlighted a few spaces before, so I've gotten the line before. If I click on heading 1 now, over here it thinks the space before the actual chapter 9 heading is also a heading 1. So I can go there and just make that normal, and now that's out of there. So if you end up with these weird spaces over here, then that's what that's all about. So now I can easily navigate between these chapters, and it's pretty handy. The other thing you can do over here in the navigation pane is a find and replace. I use this for finding things like the word chapter, but also for doing some quick document-wide formatting edits, like the double space after period thing. You can actually put that in and see there's 48 instances of it in this document, and I want only one space. So I can just click replace all. It says we made 48 replacements. Congratulations. Now you see all those deletions are going to show up here in the margin comments. It makes things fairly messy. So just an FYI, when I'm doing this change, and I do this change a lot, I often just turn off track changes, then replace them all, and then turn back on track changes. So then it's not so messy in the margins. Okay, I'll stop there. That covers the main things I've come to really rely on. If you can make things quicker and easier, then do it. Be on the lookout for the actions you do frequently when you're editing. You can definitely speed up the navigation. You can definitely speed up some of the document-wide edits that you make. And you can speed up your clicking with keyboard shortcuts. So let me know if you have any other tricks for making editing more efficient. And thanks for watching.